countries and this country we have and the organizations to thrive, because where there is no integrity, countries, organizations will not thrive. Development in any country and in any society can come only when we have men and women of integrity. If we lose leaders who have no integrity, we are looking forward to a country becoming poorer and poorer. But when we have men and women of integrity who will hold key positions of making decisions, then we shall see countries thrive. We shall see great changes take place in our countries. That's why I emphasize that we need men and women of integrity who lead, not for their own sake, but for the sake of others. And that's where servant leadership comes in. The servant leadership comes to address the issue of our moral values, the issue of how best can I lead. What are the values that are bringing in the position of leadership that I occupy? What do I want to display? What do I have? What kind of a character do I want to bring? And if we have a leader who will say that I want to live and sit in this office and demonstrate and become a man of integrity, that organization will change. That our office they are seated will be respected. Lack of integrity makes a leader to lose their own credibility. One issue that promotes one's credibility is integrity. Integrity is something that you cannot mortgage. Integrity is something that you cannot negotiate with, because we don't have good integrity and we don't have a bad integrity. Integrity is one. You got to be a man, a woman of integrity, or you become a corrupt and a person without any integrity. So I want to say this: let's uphold integrity. And the way there is integrity, countries thrive. Where there is no integrity, nations will fall, organizations will close down, people will continue living in poverty, people will continue suffering, because always a person who lacks integrity, they are selfish. They don't mind about others. And that's why we see in our country that when we have men and women who are in leadership and don't have integrity, they care less about other people. It's all about myself. It's all about myself. But a person of integrity thinks, behold himself, he sees himself as an agent, an instrument of change. Let's uphold integrity to lift up our country, to address the issues affecting our families and our countries. Integrity is the way to go.
My name is Titus. I am a servant leader. I'm serving as a pastor, among other responsibilities. One time in the beginning of this year, this 2024, Dr. Mulinga was invited to speak in our church by Bishop Sam. And after speaking, he spoke about Aslead program. I got interested because he said that Aslead focuses on building the character or developing character of leaders. The focus is on the being and not the doing. And so I found it interesting and I said, this is something I need to do. And that is how I joined Aslead. Aslead has changed my perspective towards people. When I see people around me, I see opportunity to serve as compared to before, because the emphasis of Aslead is on servanthood and not where leaders are bosses. So as I am a parent, a pastor, a corporate leader, I see the people around me, whether they are above or below me, I see them as an opportunity to offer my services and add value to them.
Hey, my name is Dr. Peter Molinge, the president of Aslead Institute. In Aslead, we foresee a generation of servant leaders who lead for the sake of others. And more so, we are so much particular on bringing up a new generation of leaders in our country. When we see how leadership is happening in our country, actually I want to say that every one of us is concerned about the future generation. And this is why in Aslead we have researched and come up with a mentorship program and a training program for the youth. These youth are the ones who are coming out of high school, and they are also coming out from college, and those who are also in college. This program touches about the holistic life of a leader. I came up with a concept, I call it houses, and I try to imagine what kind of a behavior parents teach their children at home. And I looked at and say, the only best place where we can get leaders is within a house context. That's why I came up with the acrostic or called houses. And each letter has got its own kind of a behavior that a child or maybe a youth should be taught. Because once leadership is broken in a family setup, once leadership is broken in a house, let me tell you, we will not have leaders outside there. If the people that we are bringing up, they cannot serve in a family setup, they cannot serve well outside there. And that's why I researched and found out what kind of a behavior should we teach our children. And this module has all the behavior, 6 cardinal behaviors that every youth need to learn. And when they learn this, and when they sit under our mentorship class, I want to assure you, and we have seen it, and I have had recommendation from Ethiopia where this module is being used, and South Africa, Nigeria, where it is being used, and there is an impact both in the church and also in colleges where it is being used. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce this concept to us, and to ask parents and to ask youth to take this opportunity to join our program in the month of December. We are launching this program in the month of December. We want to change leaders. We want to prepare another generation of leaders who will lead for the sake of others, leaders who will be led by their moral values, leaders who will say that I want to do this for the sake of others, and I want to see a changed nation. And do you know where it all starts? It all starts from home. It all starts in a family. And that's why this module is tailor-made to address some of the behaviors that are learned from house. Houses is where we learn how to lead well. Once this concept and these behaviors are learned, I believe we are going to see a great change. So take a chance, allow your child, allow your youth to join this class, and you can call us for more information on the number that is there. We'll be able to let you know how you can reach to us. We are located along Mombasa Road in a Gateway Mall. We are on the 4th floor, and we are able to host a group of 20 students at a go in a class. So, and the place is so beautiful. Gateway Mall is a nice place, secure, and a good environment, good restaurants where actually you can bring up your child and then you can buy them good lunch, or maybe they can go eat good lunch. It's secure. So we want to provide them a place where they can feel secure when they are being trained. So I want to invite you to bring up your youth and to get out to us, reach us, call us on that number, and we will be able to direct you. Let me tell you, if leadership is not made in home, outside there is no leadership. If your youth cannot serve you, if your child cannot serve in the house, how do you expect them to serve? We answer, we prepare them to know that they can serve you at home, and they can become good stewards of themselves, and even not to misuse the resources that we invest in them for their own future, because today is when they are making their future. So look forward to hear from you, and look forward to have your child trained, mentored to become the kind of a child that you wished to have and to see in the marketplace. See you there.
Welcome back. Welcome back. That was a 15 minutes break. I'm sure you've been able to stretch and pick up a cup of coffee and get your notebook if you didn't have one, and a pen, because the next speaker we are going to have is actually an international speaker, and I'm sure you are going to get a lot of inspiring knowledge on servant leadership, the Towel philosophy, and leading in service. If you joined us just during the break, kindly put on the charts your name and probably where you're watching us from, or following us from, or joining us from. Kindly put that on the charts. And I know a number of us are asking, they are seeing Aslead Kenya, and you're asking yourself, what does Aslead stand for? What does Aslead mean? So Aslead stands for Africa Servant Leadership Development. Africa Servant Leadership Development. And it's all happening here today, Mashujaa Day. Thank you for the sacrifice. Thank you for taking time to join us today. I am sure that your expectations will be met, because the Bible clearly says that our expectations shall not be cut short. And so I'm sure all your expectations will be met. We have Mercy Kang'ethe joining us from Kajiado, Kenya. Welcome. Good to have you here. I'll be telling us a little bit more about Aslead at this particular point. Allow me to share a short presentation. Okay, I hope you can be able to see it. Okay, so you will get to know us a little bit more. And this is where leadership transcends titles and becomes a force for positive change. And how do we do this particular leadership training or empowering? Is through coaching, through nurturing, and through mentorship. And we seek to lead like Jesus. And so we are asking why servant leadership matters. Kenya and Africa are undergoing leadership transitions that call for a new kind of leader who serves first. Servant leadership emphasizes empathy, accountability, and stewardship, values that rebuild trust and inspire transformation. And our anchor scripture is Mark 10:45, which says, For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So these are our courses, or the courses that we offer: a certificate in servant leadership, diploma in servant leadership, certificate in servant leadership for college students and youth, servant leadership for the corporate compute and computer packages. Each program integrates theory, practice, and mentorship to build competence and character. So are you ready for change is the question that we are asking. And one of the interesting things about servant leadership courses through Aslead, I can tell you for sure, because I have gone through all the 10 modules that are offered. It's a transformational journey. It transforms you as the leader inside out. And so are you ready to be equipped? Are you ready to be transformed? Are you ready to be a servant leader? Visit our website at www.asleadinstitute.org to learn more or enroll in a program today. Together, we can build a generation of leaders who serve others with it. So it's my hope I've got some information from here that will definitely help you to join us. And you can see our contact details right there at the bottom. You can send an email to info@asleadinstitute.org or marketing@asleadinstitute.org, or you can use the phone number 0720-784858. I repeat again, the phone number is 070-784-858. You can use that number or visit our website to get more information on Aslead Institute. So I look forward to hearing from a number of us who are already not enrolled, whether you are following us on Facebook, on YouTube, or you're right here on the Zoom. Karibu sana is how we would say it in the Kenyan style. Today, make yourself a hero by joining us. And so, dear leaders, and all of you that are logged in today, I would like us to put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Seema Pawar. Allow me to give a small intro on Seema Pawar. She is an educationist and a development leader. She is a specialist with over 25 years of experience working with NGOs, INGOs, academic institutions, and multilateral organizations. Her expertise spans program strategy, curriculum development, donor engagement, monitoring and evaluation, and organizational capacity building. She has worked with leading international organizations, including World Vision India, CARE International, American Red Cross, and the Leprosy Mission Trust India, where she has held high impact or led high impact education and development programs and contributed to policy level engagements, including India's National Education Policy 2020. Dr. Seema holds a PhD in education from Jamia Millia Islamia University and master's degrees in education and home science. She currently serves as a consultant in proposal development, impact evaluation, and donor research. She also volunteers as donor engagement and fundraising manager with Young Peace Builders USA. So kindly put your hands together, give an applause. Welcome, Dr. Seema Pawar. All right, let's put those hands together. All right, thank you, thank you. Welcome, Dr. Seema. Look forward to learning, relearning, and growing together this morning.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. And it's a great honor for me to be with you all today to reflect on a topic that speaks deeply to the heart of a true leadership. advocacy through the lens of servant leadership. When we think about leadership, our minds usually go to power, authority, and control. But at the same time, as Christians, as believers, when we look at the pages of Bible, it reflects a completely different picture of leadership, where we see the humility, compassion, love, hope, justice before power and authority and control. So this is a reflection from Bible. But if we look at the from secular world, there are a lot of examples, like the Miss Regina spoke about Mother Teresa, who served in India and in different parts of the world. But basically, she started her mission work from India. And there are others like Bishop Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. There are so many people who have the same mindset and who have the same spirit of servant leadership as well as advocacy, because I will be dealing with advocacy as well as servant leadership. So uh, I will speak more about my personal experiences, examples from Bible, examples from secular world, and my personal experience in the area of servant leadership and also advocacy. I've been a trainer for advocacy, media and advocacy, while working with the Leprosy Mission Trust India, and I trained about hundreds of health workers and doctors and community workers in the area of advocacy, how media can be used to raise the issues concerning people and communities and nation. So today, as I start with my presentation, let's start with what is advocacy. We know we have been doing advocacy in different capacities in our workplaces, in our communities, in our churches. When we see injustice, when we see oppression, we do advocacy. But advocacy means when we support a cause. I will give you an example from India. In my in the beginning, I was talking about lot of cases of atrocities and persecution against Christians and communities in India. And in 2022, what happened? Some of the main important leaders of Christian community in Delhi, they get together and they discussed about the rising cases of atrocities and persecution against Christians in India. And they discussed and they came up with an idea to hold a peace protest in Delhi, which is a national capital of India. And it was held very close to Parliament of India. So what they did, they networked with different organizations, they networked with different churches, and just to, to draw their attention to the burning issue of persecution. And what they did, they they set up a date, they set a place, and they brought together all the churches across India. They brought together churches, they brought together different organizations, faith-based organizations, especially Christian organizations. They approached media, TV channels, newspapers, and they invited all of them. And a lot of people and I was also a part of that peace protest. I was there, and we all together, we gathered near Parliament, and a lot of people came forward to share their testimony. They share the experience they are having in their communities. In one of the testimony, one person from a rural part of India, one village, he was sharing that his mother's was denied the burial service in the village. They said, no, you are Christian and you are not allowed to bury your mother even in his own field. So that is the the situation in some parts of India. So there were a lot of people who shared their experiences from their community, from their villages and from their churches. And some of them, they shared that their churches, while they were having their Sunday worship service, they were attacked by people who wants to disturb our community. And the main the allegation is they are converting people from Hinduism to Christianity. So that is how we collect people in advocacy. We mobilize people to come together and raise the issue and draw the attention of the government, and also draw the attention of media, draw international attention, so that people to be aware about what is happening in the country, in the community. There is another example from Timor-Leste. Since I have worked in Timor for almost 3 years, I was an education advisor for Care International. So in 1975, we know, I don't know how many of you know, before 1975, Timor-Leste was a colony of Portuguese. And in 1975, Portuguese left East Timor, and East Timor declared self-independent country. Same night, in 1975, Indonesia invaded Timor-Leste. And in 1975, when they invaded Timor, there was a lot of problems. There were a lot of violence, and the one of the leader from Timor, Ramos Horta, he fled from the country and he was in exile. But during his exile, he acted as the voice of the Timorese people. And in the same year, in December 1975, just days after the invasion and his, fleeing from the country, he addressed the United Nations Security Council, appealing for the world's help to, stop the violence, protect Timorese people, recognize East Timor as an independent country. Throughout the years of occupation and his exile, he spoke at different UN councils, UN meetings, and at different platforms. He tried to draw the attention of people around the world about the atrocities and violence in Timor-Leste, and how Timorese are suffering and how they are facing problems in their own country. And in 1999, after a lot of his persistent efforts, UN peace forces entered Timor-Leste after independence referendum by Timorese. And finally, in 2002, East Timor achieved its long-awaited independence. So this is an example of advocacy we can do at the national level, but we can also do advocacy at the international level. So now we'll talk about types of advocacy. There are 3 types of advocacy: individual advocacy, community, and policy advocacy. Individual advocacy, when we stand for the rights and needs of one person. I will give my own example about the need. I was uh, working in East Timor on a non-family position, and I was alone. I have one daughter, and she was studying in 6th grade. She was in India, and she was she's a very bright child, and she was, always comes first in the class. But during my absence, her grades goes down. And when she shared her result with me, I was very disturbed. And I could see how my absence from home is, affecting uh, her studies, her overall development. And I was very sad. I was a part of one church group, and every Wednesday we used to come together at somebody's place, and then we used to pray. So I had a friend from Malawi, and that day we had a meeting at his place. And when I went there, I was very sad. And he asked me, "Sister, what happened? Why are you sad?" And I shared my problem with him. And I said, "I'm very sad. I'm very disturbed. And I was not willing to come for this meeting, but somehow I came." And he said, "Okay, let's pray for your need." And I was the only Indian, but all of them were from Africa, different countries of Africa. All of them were working with UN. And they started praying. And somehow in prayer, I felt peace. And then I came back home. And he said, "Your prayer has been heard. Don't worry, sister." And next morning, when I went to my office, I prayed and I said, "If my country director comes to me directly, it is a sign from you that I should go and talk to her." And that day it happens. My country director, she came to me, and I went to her and I told her I want to discuss something. And I told her about my situation. And because when I was sharing my situation about my daughter, I was crying, and she also started crying. She was a Britisher, and she also started crying, and she said, "Don't worry, Seema. I will do my level best to bring your daughter with you here in Timor." And you know how God works in our lives. We don't know. We never imagined. We we are, like Isaiah 55 says, our thinking, our thoughts, and his thoughts are like earth and heaven. So I don't know how, but she advocated on my behalf. She spoke on my behalf. She filled that gap between the people in Care Australia and people in Timor. And she filled that gap, and she spoke on my behalf and brought my daughter to Timor-Leste. I was still on the non-family position, but somehow she was able to brought my daughter to Timor-Leste. So this is one of the, example from my own life. Then we can see examples from Bible also. If we look uh, in First Samuel chapter 25, we read the story of Abigail, Nabal, and David. And it's a very interesting story, and I love that story because I can see the women standing as an advocate for her husband. And we know how her husband Nabal, he was a very rude and very cruel person. And when David's men approached him and asked him for food, and how rudely he refused to offer hospitality. And when they came back and reported David, he was very angry. He was very frustrated, and he was getting ready to attack Nabal. But his wife, Abigail, She was a very intelligent woman. She was very God-fearing, and she has a heart of, an advocate. And she collected all food items, and she reached uh, uh, David. And then she also uh, apologized on behalf of Nabal. And that's how she, uh, protected her household, her husband, her everything. So this is another example of advocacy where she only did the advocacy. It is an very good example of individual advocacy. And then no explanation cannot, complete without mentioning the role of Jesus or the act of Jesus as an advocate. We know we read Book of John, chapter 8, verses 1 to 11, where we see the woman caught in adultery. And we know how Jesus protected this woman. That this woman was surrounded by, hypocrites, people from that age, and they were ready to stone her to death because they caught her in adultery. But what Jesus did, he came forward, and what he said, pick up the stone, whoever has not done any sin. And that's how he, protected that woman, defending an individual, defending a woman from injustice. So that is another, example. Then there is another example of Samaritan woman, which is, marginalized. And we know the story. And again, uh, how Jesus defended her worth and restoring her voice. So this is another example. Now, while I was working with Leprosy Mission, I was working very closely with people affected with leprosy. And we know that leprosy is highly stigmatized disease. People, don't talk to these people. They have, in India, they have separate colonies. They live together. They live together away from the main village or main cities. And those days, they didn't have any provisions from the government. Even the Persons with Disability Act said that person who has leprosy can be divorced on the basis of his or her sickness. So that is the extreme of that disease. And many times they were denied treatment in a government, even in the government hospital. We cannot think about the private hospital, but even the government hospitals, they cannot access the treatment. While working with the Leprosy Mission, I conducted advocacy and media training for our health workers and doctors. And these health workers, what they did, they go in one of the village in Uttar Pradesh. They approached the hospital with this person affected with leprosy. He had dysentery, and the doctors were and the hospital were not able to entertain him. They were not wanting to admit this person. So the health workers, the community workers from Leprosy Mission, they approached this fellow and they said, okay, give us in writing if you don't want to give him any treatment, and then we will see what we want to do. And then at this time, this fellow, he said, no, please don't do anything. We will give him treatment. So this is another form of advocacy. Then we see community advocacy, where we see collective action, where people from one community, they come together and they raise their voice for particular issue or and seek change together. I will give one example again from advocacy and media training. Uh, again from Uttar Pradesh in India. It's a story of a young girl, very interesting. And this girl was living in a village in Uttar Pradesh in India. And every day, every morning, when she used to come out of the house, she saw water everywhere, all drainage water. And she had to look for the dry space to put her foot over there to go from her street outside on the main road. Now, this girl was very frustrated, and he was every day the same issue she had to face. Then what she did, two other friends, they were also living in the same street, and they were also facing the same problem, but they never thought about it because, this kind of service and advocacy heart God gave to some people, not to everyone. So this girl, she discussed this situation with the other two girls, and she told him, let's do something because nobody is doing anything. Let's do something. So in India, every village has development fund, and village had received every year village development fund. So this village development fund was not used for the development of village because the head was keeping all the fund in his own pocket. So this girl, along with two other friends, they started, they started working. What they did, they take out the spade and other instruments, and they started making drainage line so that water can pass through the drainage line and not spread on the street. And what happened? Slowly, they were going ahead. So the village head, when he saw this, he called this girl's father and scolded him. And then he said, your daughter is not good and your daughter is of not good character. You stop her doing all these things. So this father, he came back, he was very sad, and he called his daughter and asked her to stop the work. So this daughter, she explained everything and convinced her father. So her father also said, okay, you continue. When these girls, they reached the house of the village head, this village head said, the women of the village head, they also came out and they said, okay, we will also go. When the village head saw the women of his household are also working, he said, okay, now you stop, I will do the rest of the work. So this is how the community altogether come forward and work for the welfare of the whole village. One example from Bible is very interesting of Nehemiah. We know the Nehemiah story. Nehemiah was a cupbearer of the king, and when his brothers came from Judah and met him and told him about Jerusalem, that Jerusalem wall is broken down, the gates are burnt down. He was very sad, and when he went to king, king asked him why you are very sad, why your face is downcast, and he told him. So king allowed him to go back to Jerusalem, and here Nehemiah mobilized the whole community. He raised the issue. He listened to the suffering of the people. He mobilized the community and inspired them, encouraged them, motivated them, and brought them together to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. This is another very important example of very interesting example of community advocacy. The third is policy advocacy, where we work for the change in the policy. We influence laws and policies or systems that affect the large groups of people. Here we know the story of Esther, how Esther, taking the risk of her life, she went in front of the king, and she spoke for her people, and how she protected the whole community, a whole Jewish community, with with her with her talking, how she changed a royal decree with her influence as the queen of that country. uh, we have another example from India. I was studying that time, and it was in the during 90s, and there was a lot of protest from people about Mandal Commission. A lot of people were protesting on the about the uh, 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 giving reservation in the colleges and in the job market to the lower caste of people. In India, if you know, we have a very strong caste system, and the lower caste people face a lot of injustice at various places, whether it's in schools, in educational institutions, in workplaces, everywhere they face. But after a lot of protests and persistent efforts of people, the changes in laws comes, and now they have the equal rights to, even now they can enter into the worship places. Earlier they were not able to enter into the temples of Hindus. So then there was in 2013, it was a there was a worldwide hue and cry about this case. It was a rape case, and very brutal rape case in Delhi. Uh, on I think it was in 16th December 2013. It happened in night, and this young girl was brutally gang raped by people, and and she died later in Singapore during her. She was sent to Singapore after a lot of protest for the treatment, but she died in Singapore. So after this incident, there was a lot of protests, and the government came up with fast track courts where girls who faced rape and sexual abuse, uh, the court cases uh, they did at very at a high speed. In few days they finished the cases, and then government also opened one-stop centers for rape victims and sexual violence victims, where they receive medical, psychological, and legal help from government. So these two changes came into the law policy. Then a lot of Christian organizations like International Justice Mission, Justice and Care, World Vision, and there are many others who came together, and then there was the government amended uh, the the laws uh, of Juvenile Justice Act, and then there was one more, uh, POXO Act. POXO Act is specifically for children facing sexual abuse, and Juvenile Justice Act also delinquent juveniles who faced different kind of problems or violence in their day-to-day life. So this is another. Then in Timor-Leste, earlier there was no pre-primary education. Children directly goes to primary schools. So during my tenure in care in international in Timor-Leste, I created a community of practice where educationists from different NGOs and also people from the community, schools who also wants pre-primary education for their children. We came together, we prepared a memorandum and submitted it to the wife of President Ramos Horta. And actually, she was the Goodwill Ambassador of Education. So we submitted that proposal to her, and then she agreed, and we started pre-primary education. We started the policy, and then we started the curriculum framework, the strategy for implementation of pre-primary education in Timor-Leste. So this is another example where with the effort of people, with the effort of a group of people, we bring changes in the policies and acts of any government. And one interesting example from the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 41, verses 31 to 49, when Joseph was in Egypt, and it was after that dream which was given to the prisoners, that there will be famine in Egypt. And when Joseph interpreted that dream, he advised Pharaoh to store grain during good years. And thereby he created a national policy where everyone was, giving food grain from their fields, and it was deposited in the national granary. And that's how he was able to save thousands of lives during the time of famine. So this is another, example from Bible where we see how people work for change in the policy. Now we go to the next slide, which is different ways of doing. So we can do it through songs and through speaking also. We see a lot of people, and even in writing, we see the example of Nelson Mandela when he was in the jail, and he was working hard against apartheid, and he was continuously writing articles, and he was writing in newspapers, and his friends also. There were other people also along with him, and they were writing articles and letters to different people and encouraging their people to inspire them to continue their struggle against apartheid. Then there is singing also. We can use singing, we can use music, we can use hymns, we can use poems to to draw the attention of people towards any particular issue for advocacy. And we see in America during civil rights movement, when people used to sing "We Shall Overcome," that song show hope, unity, and determination, and encourages many people to be a part of that civil rights movement. Then what Bible talks about, I am taking much time, I'm sorry. What Bible says about advocacy, we see in Proverbs 31, 8 to 9, where it is written, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves." So here also, Bible says, We have to speak for those who cannot speak. We also see in Exodus, book of Exodus, Moses advocating for the Israelites. In Exodus chapter 3, we see how he stood in front of the most powerful ruler of that time and spoke on behalf of Jewish people to protect them from violence, from injustice, and for their freedom, for their liberation from slavery. In Isaiah first, chapter 1, 17, we see, seek justice, defend the oppressed. Again, Isaiah is telling us to seek justice, defend the oppressed. People who are oppressed, we have to defend them. Bible also tells us, as Christians, as believers, as servant leaders, we have to work towards defending the people who are facing injustice, who are oppressed, who are marginalized. In Micah chapter 6, verse 8, again it says, act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. You know, act justly means we have to be, fair with everyone. We should not, we should not be uh, 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 treating people with a different attitude. So Bible says that we should behave people in a fair manner. Love mercy. We have to be merciful. We have to be compassionate like our Jesus was compassionate. He was merciful, even though we are sinful people, we are sinners. But because of his love, his grace, we are alive. We are taking breath in this world and walk humbly with your God. We have to be humble. We have to be, we have to treat people with humility. We have been talking since morning, we have been talking about towel philosophy. Towel philosophy talks about the humility of Jesus, who was a king of kings, who was the son of father, but he became zero. He never becomes hero. He became zero, and he washed the feet of his disciples, showing the humility of his nature. Now let's go to servant leadership. Again, servant leadership, when we talk about uh, the towel philosophy, we talk about servant leadership. How Jesus, he came to the world to serve, not to be served. He served people. He he relate with the people, with poor people. He served sick. He never, uh, bring himself above other people. He became zero for us. And servant leaders serve first, lead second. I have a very good example from India. We have a very big Christian organization, Emmanuel Health Association. It has lot of hospitals across India, and these hospitals are majorly in the rural part of India, where there are no hospitals, and the doctors and nurses are serving in rural parts of India. One of the director from Northeast India, Mr. Lal Chungyani, he was the director of, and he was, before joining as director of Emmanuel Health Association, he was a bureaucrat with Government of India. And he was a very humble person. What he used to do on weekends, he and his wife, they used to come to office and they used to clean each nook and corner of the office and even the toilets of the office. So before, you know, and he was setting an example before before his colleagues that we should be a servant. If we want people to serve us, we have to serve them first. So this is another, very interesting example of servant leadership. Then we see Bishop Desmond Tutu. Bishop Desmond Tutu uh, was a leader in Africa, and he was also a winner of Nobel Peace Prize, we all know. And he was a perfect example of servant leadership and advocacy. Throughout his life, he stood fearlessly against apartheid, using his voice to speak for justice, peace, and reconciliation. He led not through force or political power, but through compassion, humility, and faith in God, because he believed that every human being is created in the image of God and deserves dignity and respect. So his life showed that true leadership means serving others, seeking justice, and working for healing in society. This is another very good example. Characteristics of servant leaders. First, characteristic is listening, empathy, healing, and awareness. Persuasion. I can give one example from my own life, covering all the first five characteristics of servant leadership. I am a cancer survivor, and uh, it happened in 2005. And after I'm healed from cancer, this is my ministry and my heart to work for the people who are suffering with cancer. And what I do counseling telephonically. I also personally, I visit these patients, counsel them, encourage them, show empathy to them, and pray with them, because prayer is very important for any person um, who is hopeless, who is suffering. So I pray with them. I also uh, 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 give awareness about the precautions they should take during their treatment. So all these things I have been doing for a long time. Since 2005 I am doing this, and people, I don't know how, but one of the online church in Canada, they have my testimony, and one lady from Canada, she approached me, and she asked me to share my testimony with her, and then I spoke to her and shared my experience and encouraged her to go for the treatment, because she was not willing to go for the treatment because she was so hopeless. Right? Encouraged her to go for the treatment. So all these things I have been doing. So it's again a servant leadership in my ministry, what I am doing. Then conceptualization. Again, I am giving the example from my organization. I have a burden for pastors in India uh, and across world who are working in difficult conditions, who are working with lot of persecution, with lot of opposition. Pastors who are not self-reliant, who are poor, who have no source of income, but who are genuinely working for the kingdom of God. So I have a heart for them. And with that, initiated and I started an organization, Bandhuta, which means fraternity, or we are in one accord, which is for love and hope. And my vision, or I conceptualize that thing, that we are, collecting funds, and it's a crowdfunding. And what we are doing, we are identifying such pastors who are in dire need of finances. We are supporting them to start their own small business, and they can, earn money to survive, to feed their children, to send their children to school. And the another concept which I have brought into this mission is the concept of tithe. So what I am encouraging these pastors is, when they start earning, they should give their tithe to back to us. So we have opened another account where we deposit these tithes. So it will be kind of a rolling amount. And to sustain this project, we are taking tithes from all the people, and then it will help it is helping other pastors to open their own, shops or a small business. So they'll be self-reliant, and they can help others also. So this is how I am doing. Then building community. The last one is building community is involvement of community. Uh, I was working with American Red Cross after the tsunami, and it was a tsunami recovery project. And we visited those communities which were affected or hit by tsunami. So uh, we uh, uh, with the help of the community, and we assess the needs somehow, and thereby we made them the part of this project, so that they take the ownership, they sense the sense of belongingness, and we also get the support from the community in implementing this project. Then advocacy through the lens of servant leadership. This is another important project slide which we should be looking at. So advocacy becomes moral and spiritual service when it is done out of love, compassion, and a deep sense of responsibility toward other, especially the weak and oppressed. So it becomes moral and spiritual service. As Christian leaders, as servant leaders, we have to be compassionate, and we should be loving, and we should have the sense of responsibility towards other. Whatever we do, we should do it with a sense of responsibility, with a sense of love. It goes beyond just speaking out. It becomes an act of faith and obedience to God's call for justice. And key dimensions of this is listening and empathy. I've already discussed. Empowerment and voice. We empower people, and we train them. For example, in advocacy training, and empower them, and I encourage them to voice their concerns. Stewardship and justice. In the Bantuta project, we are stewarding the resources from different people, and courage and prophetic witness. That is another important thing. Servant leaders from the world. We have already spoken about, Regina already spoken about Mother Teresa. So I will not touch Mother Teresa. Mahatma Gandhi is another a person from India who dedicated his life to fighting injustice and promoting truth, peace, and non-violence. Is another important work was for low caste people. He called them Harijans, which is children of God. And they were, I told you, they were not allowed to enter into the schools, into the temples, into the marketplaces. So Mahatma Gandhi worked for them also. They were called untouchables. Then we also know about Martin Luther. He challenged the injustices and corruption within the church, not for personal fame or gain, but to help people experience a genuine relationship of God. He also translated the Bible in the common language, so the common people can read the Bible and learn from the word of God. And Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of United States, who worked tirelessly to protect his country during the civil rights, and also bring freedom to enslaved people through Emancipation Proclamation. Though it was not happened immediately, but it took place. It was a very serious move from any president of any country. Now we have biblical models of servant leadership and advocacy. We have Jesus Christ. We have already spoken about Jesus. we spoke about the Tawel philosophy, and his leadership is rooted in love expressed through humility and fulfilled in sacrifice. He sacrificed his love out of uh, for us, for sinners like us. He sacrificed his life. Moses, he humbled. He stood in front of the Pharaoh, not as a as some political leader, but as servant of God, and raised his voice for the liberation of Jewish people. Esther, we already spoke about, and Nehemiah, we already discussed. Visionary, he was a visionary rebuilder and mobilized community to rebuild the Jerusalem wall and the gates of Jerusalem. Jesus Christ, we have already discussed, and he washed the towel philosophy. He washed the disciples' feet, symbolizing humility and service. Though the disciples' feet, like Regina mentioned, were dirty, but he still washed their feet, showing humility and service, feeding the hungry and healing the sick. In the New Testament, we read lot of incidences where Jesus feed the hungry people, where he fed 5,000 people. In one incident, he fed 4,000 people. He healed the sick people. We know people with person, uh, a lady who had the issue of blood, and a person who has the withered hand. So there were a lot of incidences where we see Jesus healed the sick, laying down his life for others, the ultimate act of sacrificial leadership. He sacrificed his life for us. Moses, he was reluctant, and when God called him to be the advocate, to act as an advocate for the people, he was reluctant. He said, "I cannot speak properly. I cannot do it." But God asked him, and God convinced him, and Joshua became his mouth, and he confronted Pharaoh's injustice, and he interceded for Israel. Then Esther, we see how Esther encouraged all the Jewish community to go on fast. She fasted first. She became zero. She became the servant. She herself goes on fast for 3 days, and he encouraged others to fast for 3 days. And all of them uh, fasted for 3 days. And she then, after fasting and praying, she went before the king and risking her life before the king. And she used her wisdom, prayer, and strategy. She asked everyone to pray and fast, and then she went. So again, sometimes we have to take risks also. Nehemiah, again, we already spoke about when his brothers came to him from Judah and they told him about the situation in Judah. He grieved and then he prayed. And after prayer, because the God's favor was with him, he gained royal approval to rebuild. When he was going to Judah, the king of that country also gave his resources. He gave him protection so that he can reach Judah safely and start the rebuilding of the wall. And servant leadership rebuild community with teamwork and integrity. So here we see teamwork, and in other examples I shared, we have seen the examples of teamwork, practical applications, faith-based, integrate advocacy in ministry. So in leprosy mission, it was a ministry, but we integrated advocacy in our ministry. My husband worked in Odisha in Kandhamal. There was a lot of persecution and atrocities against Christians. Lot of Christians were killed, girls were raped, and he went there and with the project he built lot of houses there. He built SHGs and advocacy networks for the well-being, for the welfare of people. Institution. In institutions, we should cultivate servant leadership like Dr. Lal Chungyana. He cultivated the the uh, the practice of servant leadership in his organization. And as a leader, servant leadership, we should listen, serve, and speak truth courageously. We should not be fearful, but when we have to speak, we should speak truthfully. During while doing advocacy and in servant leadership, we face lot of challenges. Face of fear of confrontation. We face lot of opposition and confrontation. Even Desmond Tutu, Mahatma Gandhi, and people like him, Martin Luther King Jr., they all have faced opposition. Even Abraham Lincoln, they faced a lot of opposition, but they stood strong and they didn't fear of confrontation, but they spoke what they had to speak. Lack of support. We in such cases we lack support of people. So there are other strategies where we look for support. uh, I don't have time, otherwise I would have spoke on this subject also. Lack of support, limited time of planning, because it happened suddenly, so there was hardly any time. If a church is burned, we don't have time to plan for a week or so. So it happens in within uh, 1 or 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours. We planned for such for advocacy drives. And emotional and high stress, because it all happens under high stress environment. Opportunities, partnership, and teamwork. So in all the advocacy drives, we look for partnership and teamwork. We do it in partnership with other organizations and with churches. In MIA, he worked with other people. So uh, and we work with teams, empowering marginalized and building compassionate community where people are compassionate for other people. So this is the end of my presentation. As we come towards the end, uh, close of this reflection, let us remember that true advocacy is born from a servant's heart. It is not driven by pride or personal recognition, but by love, compassion, and the deep sense of responsibility. Each one of us has a voice. Uh, Advocacy does not always begin in the halls of prayer. Sometimes it begins with one act of kindness, or one word, or one moment of compassion. As we uh, servant leaders may follow the example of Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve. And may our leadership always reflect his humility, justice, and love. Thank you so much. May God bless each one of us. Thank you.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sima. I mean, there's so many things you said that I have never thought about as a believer. It is okay to advocate. It's okay to, come up with a group of people and all of us go protesting in the streets. We've always thought that is, we leave to those people who do not know God. But you have made it very easy and simple for us, and even quoted examples for us that you have personally, practically done in terms of advocacy. Thank you so much. And I can see people here are also just as excited as I am. And they're definitely giving you lots and lots of flowers. I'm sure you're receiving all of them, the carnations, the roses. Thank you so much. There has been so much learning. And as Christine Ariga says, this is really so deep. And the fact that you have even used Bible examples to show us that advocacy is our role as servant leaders and as people who believe in God. That is so beautiful. I like the way you have ended the conversation and said that true advocacy is born from a servant leader, not who is in need for fame or for pride, but from a point of love and responsibility. As we look at Jesus, who was the ultimate servant leader. Beautiful, beautiful. I love the fact that you've also been so vulnerable with us, Dr. Sima. Even as you shared about individual advocacy, the challenge you had with your daughter, dropping in grades, and even just taking time to pray about it with other believers, and going to your boss and just telling them what is making you sad, what's getting you down. And we see God making a way for you. You also shared with us, in terms of policy advocacy, community advocacy, and you were vulnerable to tell us that you're a cancer survivor. Oh, we praise God for you, that God healed you. And even after that, you didn't just sit back and glory in the fact that you're healed, but you took up a step and began advocacy for cancer patients or cancer survivors. Well done. Thank you so much for being vulnerable, for being so personal, even as you shared your story. Here in Africa, we believe in storytelling. So you can be sure we will remember the stories.
Yes, I believe too, because
we will remember the stories.
Yes. Because, speaking from books and literature is sometimes not very effective. But when we use examples from our own, life, when we share our own experiences from life, it will be more impactful. That is what I have learned, I have experienced in my, 25 years of experience, professional experience.
Wow. Thank you. We will remember.
You're welcome.
This for a long time. And as I mentioned earlier, that we are here to learn, to relearn, and to unlearn many things. And one of the things that I have learned is that definitely we need to take part in advocacy as servant leaders.
Yes.
So I will open the floor now. Anybody who has a comment, like Christine, you may want to put your comment on the chat, or you may want to unmute and just speak and tell us what has been your takeaway from this conversation we've had about advocacy in relation to through the lens of servant leadership, advocacy through the lens of servant leadership. I would like you to put your comment on the chat, and if you're on WhatsApp, let's say WhatsApp, yes, WhatsApp. If you're on Zoom, if you are on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, kindly put your comment. Christine, I see you have unmuted. You'd want to say something. Please go ahead. Christina Riga.
Thank you. Thank you, man of God. Thank you so much for the opportunity to listen to this. It's really been a blessing already. It's opened my eyes. And what I've just gotten, I'm one of those people who loves, who is an intercessor. And then now it just got into my mind, outside praying and kneeling, what else are you doing so that there is, a manifestation, there is a change and an impact. And I've gotten out to see the how else you can do that, even as you put it before God, you present issues before God. So, and of course, you've said that the intention should be very clear, that you're doing it from a servant leadership position, not for fame, not for other kind of motives that do not glorify God. So for me, that's my takeaway, and many other things I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine, for reminding us our mission is not just to go on our knees and pray, but to also stand up, go out there and speak out against persecution or against issues that relate to justice. And Dr. Sima was able to give us examples, even in the Bible, of Nehemiah and Esther. They didn't just pray, but they went to the king and presented their issues. Dr. Sima, would you like to comment on anything about what Christine has said? Kindly. You can unmute. Thank you. Yes, okay, thank you.
Yes, I completely agree with Christina. And yes, it is not enough for us to kneel down and pray, but it is important as Christians, as believers, and above all, as servant leaders to go out of that, to our comfort zone and approach people, because sometimes we are reluctant. Sometimes like as Moses, we are reluctant to go out, approach people, approach dignitaries or higher officials. But as servant leaders or as advocates for the kingdom of God, it is important for us to show the love of God by approaching people in need. We if we are in our house, in our homes, and we are praying in closed doors, nobody can see the love of God. But when we approach people, when we speak with them, when we pray with them, they will experience the love of God.
Oh, great. Reminding us love is action. We need to get out of our comfort zones.
Absolutely.
Yes, and go out there and tell others about what's going on, what's happening. I love the story of the little girl who decided, I'm not just going to be jumping, hop stepping and jumping over this water every day. And she took action and told her fellow students of girls, let's do this. And that made the village elder, take up that responsibility. Thank you.
And she was a young girl, a school girl. She took this, she was a school girl studying in, I think, 10th, 11th. Very young girl.
10th, 11th grade. The students that Madam Regina has in her school.
Yes. I can see her.
At some point, yes, she's right there. We will be asking her to tell us when, those students decide now, we are protesting because there is something that is not being done right. What does she do? Does she silence their voice? Because that's the other thing that happens. Yes, I know, like even at home, growing up, there are many times I would raise issues and my mom would tell me, you are supposed to be seen and not to be heard. and definitely that caused me not to be loud when it comes to advocacy, because I'm afraid, probably nobody will listen or I will be punished if I do this. And that has caused many people not to do this. So what advice, Dr. Sima, would you give maybe somebody who's a parent in regards to how to encourage their children into advocacy?
First of all, it is, in a lot of cases I see in India also, parents are busy. They are working. Parents, majority of them are working. They don't have time to listen to their children. So first of all, it is important because a good servant leader is a good listener, and he or she should have a empathetic attitude. So first of all, parents should be good listeners. So it is important to become a good listener, listen to the children's issues, problems, and then they should advise. Because, I remember a story from the book of, I think, Kings, Solomon. When Solomon's son when he became the king, I don't remember the name of Solomon's son, when he became the king of Judah, he was taking advice from his friends of his age group, not from the elders who were giving advice to his father. So the experience, the mental age of all of them were same. So they were giving him wrong advice. So as parents, it is important for us to listen to our parents' issues and advise them rightly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sima, for, laying that very clear that as parents, we need to be able to listen to our children, be empathetic with them, and give them the right advice so that they don't have to go and seek advice elsewhere. That is very, very powerful. I'd just like you also to comment. There was something you talked about, how you developed curriculum and policy in regards to free education, which you presented to the government. And you mentioned somebody, I think the lady, the first lady or something, who you approached.
Okay.
How do you advise us in how would we go about it to do that?
So, while working with Care International in Timor-Leste, I was the education advisor. And in Timor-Leste, there was no pre-primary education. The children start, going to school from the primary, grade 1. So there was no nursery or kindergarten, directly grade 1. So when I started working in Timor-Leste and started, visiting schools in different parts of the country, I realized that the foundation is very weak when children come to grade 1. There is no primary education. And I found out that there are no preschools in Timor. Then I created a community of practice. People who are into education sector, who are working in education sector. And I approached different NGOs, INGOs, people from the communities, people from my own organization, and even people from government also. And I hold a meeting with them and organized a brainstorming session with all of them and raised this issue of pre-primary education or the existence of preschool, non-existence of preschool. And somehow, shared my experience from India. We have preschools or pre-primary education in India, and we call it in Anganwadis, where children in the age group of 2 to 4 years, they go to Anganwadis and they receive pre-primary education, where they learn alphabets and numbers and identification of colors and so on. So I shared my experience from India and mobilize all the people to to convince the government to start pre-primary education in Timor-Leste also. And we wrote a petition to we wrote a petition, and then at that time the goodwill ambassador of education was the wife of Prime Minister. So we approached her. We shared the concern, and then we shared the petition with her, and then asked her to take this petition to President and Prime Minister of Timor-Leste. So that's how we did this. So after sharing, then she asked us to develop a strategy. So all of us met together and then we developed a strategy. We developed a framework for pre-primary education, our goals and objectives, and shared it with the Goodwill Ambassador, and then she shared it with the Education Minister. So that's how we proceed from there.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Sima.
It was a long process, but yeah.
Yeah. And I see you said you saw, I mean, you identified a problem that was there because the students, when they came to school, they were having an issue catching up, and you shared the same with others. And I love the fact that you collaborated with other stakeholders to come up with a solution, and a lasting solution at that. And that really speaks to us as servant leaders, that even as we are going into advocacy, we are not going it alone.
Yes.
That we can also go out and, seek other collaborators and other, people in other spheres that we can be able to work together with. Thank you very much for sharing that and actually taking us through the process. Really much appreciated. You also mentioned something that was really spoke to my heart that I would like you to talk about here. You mentioned about crowdfunding for pastors who are in areas of persecution and are in need, and you talked about also the case. How can we as servant leaders be able to do what you mentioned, crowdfunding for a specific need that we see? And how can we be accountable? How can we be transparent about that? Because that's one of the fears that people have when you go into crowdfunding. People want to see accountability, responsibility. You don't want people to think that you're taking this money to yourself. How can you advise on that, crowdfunding?
So with Patuta, what we have done, we have created a trust, and we have a bank account. We have the treasurer also. And when we opened the bank account, I took the first step and I deposited the money first, and setting up an example for others. So that's how we started. And then people started, and then we start writing letters to our, known people who are known to us, who knows us, who know our, heart, who knows people who know our ministry, and who know our burden, what we have, the burden we have for the pastors who are in need. So that's how we approached people, and people start sending money to us in that bank account. What we have done is, when we give money to some pastor, we ask them to send a letter of request with a small project, not a professional project proposal, but a small project, writing, mentioning about the need, why they want to do it, and how they will do it, what they want to do it. Once they do it, what are their expectations and what they will do for their community in return. So this is how, that's how we are doing. And once they send the proposal with the budget. So we do, what we are trying to do is, because it's a very new initiative, what we are trying to do, we don't give money directly to the beneficiary. We don't give. What we are doing is we ask them what they need. Okay, so we give them in kind. For example, there are two brothers. So one of the brother, the one who is a pastor also in his village, he knows the work of barber. Okay, so we asked them what he needs. So he asked for, mirror and the barber chair and all those things. So we said, okay, one of our, the member of our trust, he works in that area. So I asked him to, okay, look for those things and send us the amount. And then that's how we are helping. And then he purchased for him and then sent it. Yes, that's it. And then whatever money we spend, we prepare a balance sheet and send it to all the donors. So,
Wow.
so this much we have, and this much we have spent, and this much we are left with. So there is all transparency. So then the donors or the people who are helping us, they also know how their money we are spending.
Reviewing, I guess, the proposals from the pastors, and then you all come up with how you're going to be able to meet that need and then send the balance sheet to the donors. That is awesome. Thank you so much. I would like to, at this time, open the floor. Anyone else who has a question or comment, this is your time to do that. Anyone with a question or comment, please feel free to type on the chat or to put up your hand and ask. But that was quite a powerful presentation on advocacy. Okay, so we've had two speakers this morning. We've had Regina, who is an educationist and actually a principal at Chevaluki High School. And she actually took us through to understanding what is required of us of servant leaders. And it is about service and not titles. And she went ahead and told us that believing in people is not enough. You need to also empower them, that you need to mentor people also and show empathy, like Dr. Sima has also told us about servant leadership, and listen to them and give them hope and encourage them as they serve. So if anyone has any comment or question, this is the time to do so. We are here today from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We have other great speakers lined up for you, and I can tell you, you will never be the same as a servant leader after attending this annual Aslead conference on servant leadership, where we are talking about the Tower philosophy, leading in service, and more than anything else, leading like Jesus. So please do not, I would almost say, I was going to say, don't touch that dial. Then I remembered, oh, okay, we are on Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. So please don't log off, because even when we take a break, there will be other ads that are running that you will be able to learn from. So thank you so much for staying with us through this time. We will take a break and we will come back at 2 p.m. when we will have other beautiful, awesome speakers who will take us for the day. So thank you so much for being with us. Let's give Dr. Sima another round of applause for that beautiful, beautiful presentation. Thank you so much. A lot of learning, a lot of relearning, and a lot of unlearning right there. So please stay on. We will be back at 2 p.m., taking a lunch break, a time for you to stretch. And we will still be here. Dr. Sima will be here. My dear sister and Principal Regina will be here. And so if you still have more questions, there'll be people to answer them. Thank you so much. I remain your moderator, Kagendo Kituto. Enjoy your lunch and God bless you.
In a world where leadership is often measured by power and prestige, there exists a place where a different kind of leadership emerges. A leadership rooted in faith, compassion, and purpose. Welcome to At Aslead, we believe in servant leadership, where humility and servanthood guide our path. Our approach is faith-driven, drawing inspiration from the teachings of Jesus to lead with integrity and ethics. We know that leadership is not just about titles and authority, it's about being a compassionate and purpose-driven. In this institute, we cultivate leaders who
haijatoka. Mm. Kama inakataa. I'm Pastor Francis Luchiri. I'm a servant of God. I'm also a mentor of young people. I have an organization. I'm the director of organization, youth leadership, mentorship organization known as Kibesco. I train them on servant leadership. I came to join this program through the director whom I met at the Global Leadership Summit last year at the CITAM, Karen. And when I approached him, he had set a stand, and he was talking about servant leadership being something that has been actually my burden, transform young people so that we can nurture them to become servant leaders, role model, using Jesus as the servant leader. And so that's how I came to join the program. Oh, very much. It has done tremendous transformation. In fact, it has added into me fire to go and nurture the young people I'm training as servant leaders. And it has given me more techniques of even to the mode of delivery when I talk to them. It has given me that energy. I've seen the zeal in the director of Aslead, and I've also visited the offices. I've seen his work that is practical. This program is not just another leadership program. It's a program that is, it enhances morality, value-based, which improves character, something that is a problem in society today. I'm Pastor Francis Luchiri. I'm a servant of God. I'm also a mentor of young people. I have an organization. I'm the director